Welcome back to Naruto Anime Review. This is part 13. Now, I did say next time this would show up basically whenever a new episode airs for Naruto Shippuden, but I figured though, why not continue this for a little bit, for a couple more parts, talking about the remaining movies. Basically, I've already talked about one of them already, which was, I actually talked about two. I've already talked about Blood Prison and Road to a Ninja. The last I'm planning to talk about soon with my friend Edgar. So, why not just have a couple videos talking about the rest of the films? This one I'm talking about the first three films. First up is the very first film that ever came out. Naruto the movie, Ninja Clash in the Land of Snow. Released on August 21st, 2004. So that means this film is almost 13 years old. Yes, I have watched this. Basically, this film is just, well, it basically has the original Team 7, which is Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Yeah, just these four characters from the show. And the only four characters from the show, because no one else from the show actually shows up in this movie. Not at all. And simply put, what are they hired to do? Protect an actress while she goes to the Land of Snow. This actress later turns out to be the princess, an actual princess, even though she's playing one in the movie. Go figure. And of course, the film starts off with a movie within a movie. I'm like, okay. Yeah, and then somehow Naruto's a fan of hers, and they also beat up the stuntman for the movie, which they mistake for actual warriors. And then Naruto stalks her for a while and trying to get her autograph. Yeah, it's really bizarre first 20 minutes of the film. And then once you get past the 20-minute mark, the film gets a little bit better. And of course, they start traveling with her in what looks like, get this, small campers. I am not kidding. Finally get a chance to see a motorized vehicle in this universe. Plus, this film also has a train. Yes, an actual train. And blimps. Yeah, they actually have these vehicles. They have these separate things in this film. It's nice the fact that they finally showed this stuff. Too bad they could never show this stuff in the show, though they did have some blimps in Boruto. Well, it's nice to see them, and these trains actually fire off. Basically, what look like normally you would see these things fire off like big cannon round. Basically, these things are firing hundreds of kunai knives. Not kidding. That's simply how these things are. And there's this group of rebels who actually really want the princess to return to the country and overthrow her uncle, who had overthrown her uncle overthrew her father. Yeah, and Naruto basically, and this is one of the few films that actually do this repeatedly. Naruto basically protects the girl. Yep. He does. He even try to go after them. Heck, they even put a device in that suppresses his chakra. Yeah, I'm not kidding. And he follows them all the way to the Land of Snow. And eventually, the reason why he wants her because he wants a crystal. Kakashi switched them out earlier when they were on a boat. Yeah. And it's nice to see an actual a movie being shot within a movie. That's nice. You don't see that very often in anime movies. Yeah. Of course, they get a chance with the winter outfits. I'm trying to think though. Well, the film takes place after episode 101, that really dumb episode where Team 7 tries to do a mask, try to take off Kakashi's mask. Yeah. So they get to the Land of Snow, and of course, she seemingly betrays after she gets the right crystal. But it turns out basically she does want to kill her uncle because her uncle killed her father. So basically, kind of drags her to this generator, to this I don't know, some kind of vault, thinking some massive treasure, this rainbow glacier, and there's lots and lots of fighting. And he finally puts it in, and it turns out that the vault is just a heater, which basically melts all the snow in the region. Yep. And he's defeated with a super Rasengan. And despite the fact Naruto suffered massive injuries, basically he forgot to ask her for her autograph. And it turns out, yeah, she did, while he was in the hospital. Of course, she kissed him on the head basically for, well, saving her life and her kingdom. And turns out despite the fact she is the princess of this land, she's the ruler of the land, she still wants to continue her career as an actress. So overall, it's a pretty decent film for what it is. But yeah, now I'll talk about the second film, which is Legend of the Stone of Gelel. Yeah, this one actually does not star Sasuke. Yep. Yeah, after the first film, Sasuke does not return to the film series again until the film Bonds. And of course, he does show up in Lost Tower. He shows up in the last 3 films. Now, in this film, which is now the first film of the series being 82 minutes, the second film is 97 minutes. And yeah, it's never stated. It says it's set after episode 160, probably a filler episode. So as a replacement for Sasuke, they bring in Shikamaru. Okay, and this thing deals with knights. And apparently the person who Naruto basically briefly fights, apparently he's never heard of chakra. Okay. And also apparently, and here's the thing, the movie starts off with these knights invading the land of wind. Yeah, and they take on Gaara and Kankuro. Now I should point this out. Now later on, when Naruto meets up with them, apparently, despite the fact he knows who Kankuro is, he basically first, oh, you're from the Sand Village. Okay, it's kind of the same thing he did with Tamari when she showed up when he saw her again in part 2. He basically forgot her name. The only one he remembers is Gaara, which is really weird. Yeah, I mean, he's known the Shinobi siblings since the Chunin exam and the Sand siblings, and he doesn't know the other 2 names. He only knows Gaara. Yeah, Gaara gets a good amount of screen time in this movie. And it's the first time you actually see somebody outside the main team actually show up in the movie. Yeah, which is nice, though Tamari herself does not show up in this movie. She shows up in a few movies, but most of the time she gets like 1 or 2 lines. I'll get to basically whenever she does show up in the movies, but yeah. And one of the key things about this film is getting some stones, and unlike in the previous movie where the villain was actually interesting, this one was a bit obvious that he was the main villain, unlike some later movies where the villain just comes completely out of nowhere. This one is hinted at that this one guy who's the leader of this cult is in fact the main villain, and it turns out it is basically just hints dropped here and there, but it's not like way too obvious. I mean, he has some interesting ideas, like trying to stop wars to make sure peace comes. Okay, that's fine. And of course, I take on. Of course, yeah, I thought this was really kind of funny, where Gaara and Kankuro takes on 2 female knights in the movie. I thought that was a really cool fight. And of course, Gaara defeats one of them. Not much of a problem. The other one gets away, but she does eventually get defeated. And of course, Naruto calls the guy out on his bullcrap. Basically, his noble sacrifices is basically sacrificing his own followers in order to achieve his dream. Which I agree with Naruto. It's stupid to do that. I am not kidding. This is what the guy does. And apparently, one of the stones is kept in the blonde knight's chest. Yeah, and this one does not involve him doing. It does involve him doing bodyguarding like he does in the previous film, though this time he's protecting a caravan, not a single person. So yeah, well actually first it starts off with him retrieving a ferret. It's not a creature he's apparently never heard of before. Okay, and Shikamaru, man, this guy gets a lot of. Now, despite the fact at half the time he doesn't really get to do much anything in the show. Unless, of course, he gets some focus. He does get development in the show. In the film, he does a lot. He actually finds out about a bunch of stuff. Sakura, meanwhile, was not really do much of anything in this movie, just like she did in the last film. Yeah, that's one thing about Sakura people tend to criticize her about, is the fact that half the time she does jack squat. I mean, yeah, she's powerful and all, and the fact that they keep the fact that She's still a medical ninja in every single movie. Good thing they waited. But yeah, Legend of Gral I thought was a much better film than the first one because, well, that the opening sequence was much more interesting than it was in the previous film. And it's a more competently made movie, and it's actually longer than the previous movie. Longer by 15 minutes. Yeah, it's only 15 minutes longer, which I'm thinking, okay, that's actually not bad. So I think they kind of feel like, okay, they didn't feel competent with the first movie, just slapped together a good movie, trying to make a good movie. This one, they actually knew what they were doing when they came to this one. So I do praise Legend of Stone on the Ground. And of course, they do defeat the bad guy in the end. It's a pretty interesting movie to watch. Alright, now moving on to the last film of the original films. Guardians of the Crescent Moon Kingdom. Once again, Naruto is hired to do bodyguard duty, this time protecting an overweight prince and his spoiled son. Yep. And where are they taking him? Back to his kingdom. And of course, the prince also tries to very hard to try to reconcile with his wife, who apparently left him, but they're still technically married. But from what I can tell about him, he actually really does love his wife. He was very faithful to her. I don't think he ever cheated on her. And probably from his perspective, him having a son is probably one of the best things ever happened to him. Despite the fact, yeah, he's a spoiled brat. But at least he's a competent character, despite the fact he is overweight. Which I do praise the fact that they don't really poke fun at him for being overweight in the movie. But he's a more competent character than the characters who appeared in the previous movies. And this time they replaced Shikamaru with Rock Lee. First of a handful of movies. He's actually starred in several movies. But this is the first time he's actually been in the movie. Oh, and also, in the film, Naruto does not wear his normal attire. Basically, him, Sakura, and Rock Lee all wear their summer outfits. And Sakura's summer outfit is similar to her normal outfit, except this time it shows off her abdomen. Something she never does in the show. Yeah, shows off her abdomen. And Kakashi is basically in all three of these era movies. So Kakashi in the actual films overall, he only misses like 3. Yeah, he only misses like 3 films, but at least he's done competently in every movie. And this time he actually does a little bit more than he does in the previous movie. And Sakura does much more better in this movie than she does in the previous one. But yeah, and of course Rock Lee gets a lot of screen time. His summer outfit is simply a lot like his noble jumpsuit, except they just shortened his sleeves out and they made his game like short sleeves and shorts. But it's essentially the same outfit he normally wears. Naruto is similar. It's the same color scheme, but he doesn't have the poofy collar. It's kind of like a small mini jacket in a way. But yeah, they escort him to the land. Of course, they buy a circus along the way, which helps out much later in the movie when they go back to the kingdom. And they get to the kingdom, and apparently there's nobody in the streets for some reason. It's not explained at first, but it's later explained that apparently while he was away traveling, there was a coup d'etat. Yep, a coup d'etat. A reused plot thread from the first movie. Yep. This time it's actually done a little more competently. One thing I can... Now, the guy who is the main villain of this movie, the Minister, he is by far a terrible villain. Yeah, and the only reason why he did this was so he could get everything for himself. That's the only reason why he overthrew the king, who actually dies in this movie, and the prince becomes a new king. And of course, his son becomes new prince, basically the heir apparent to the throne. Now, before the king dies, he's very happy to see his son and grandson. And I also kind of like the fact that there's these king's guardsmen who actually are not loyal to the minister, who actually loyal to the king. Despite the fact the normal country soldiers are basically, they have no choice but to obey whoever the ruler is. They have no choice. It's a duty to protect the country. So to them, it doesn't really matter. And they think that the king's guard are basically traitors because they allied with the king. And of course the guy's like, who are you guys? And Kakashi's like, Leaf Ninja, hired by the prince. And he's like, okay, that's cool. And of course they get out of the palace very well while driving the prince's carriage. And of course meet with the king, and of course, after a while, apparently he had suffered some small poisoning because one of the wandering ninja who they encountered prior to coming to the kingdom, apparently he has the ability to turn people to stone, and it's slowly poisoning the king. And of course, the king dies, and the prince becomes new king. Excuse me. He says to him before he dies, "You are now the king." Even though he's sad to see him die, basically, and of course the Wandering Ninja come back. One of their few times they fight in the movie, and they take the new king, but they don't take his son. Yeah, Naruto actually protects him while going to his rage mode. Yeah, he actually stops him. They're actually shocked the fact that Naruto can do this. And yeah, so they're like, okay, let's formulate a plan to rescue the prince and take back the kingdom. So and they team up with the circus, like, why we use the circus as a distraction? And Kakashi is basically taken over as the ringmaster, where he puts because normally he keeps his headband over his Sharingan eye. He has a small little eye patch covering his eye, and apparently this is the circus had been to the palace before. It's mentioned that, but they were turned away. This time Kakashi's like, you don't want to keep your boss waiting because he hired us to provide entertainment. He lifts up his eye patch like this, shows off a Sharingan guy, manipulates him, and he gets through no problem. And he provides a good enough show, despite the fact he's trying to have the prince killed by slow hanging, putting him on a plank with a rope. Yeah, and of course, his son basically is giving a small arrow. He basically is given arrows because the guy is a really good archer. So, like, okay, that's interesting. And of course, they do actually reuse this later on. They basically establish the fact that the prince's son is a very good archer, and this comes into play later on when he's freeing his father. And of course, Sakura takes on the female ninja, which the reason why she took on her was because the reason why she didn't figure out where she was, because the woman wears too much perfume. And she says the woman stinks, and she hates that. And Rock Lee takes on the other guy. He doesn't take on the leader of the Water Ninja. That's Naruto's job. So he takes on him, uses his taijutsu. Heck, he takes off his weights that he keeps on his ankles. That keeps him subdued. I'm like, how the heck can this guy walk with all those weights on him? And the fights, and his fight with him pretty much almost destroys this one room with stairs. Yeah, it almost destroys the room. Yeah, it's a pretty epic battle. And of course, Naruto takes on the leader of the Water Ninja, which I think this guy is the proper true villain, not the minister. The minister's so stupid. And of course, the minister is actually killed by the leader of the Water Ninja because the guy is insane. Now, unlike normally whenever they killed, unlike Zabuza when he killed his employer, the reason why he killed him, well, one thing, he fired him, and of course he was going to kill him. This leader of the Wandering Ninja kills him because he was in his way. That's the only reason why. And of course, Naruto, who apparently got his leg turned to stone, and he uses a Rasengan. Yeah, he uses a Rasengan like every movie that he's in. He uses this really cool move. And he uses that, but he can't exactly move very well. So basically, the prince, despite that being over, he actually does help Naruto perform the move really well because it's supposed to be a running move and it's supposed to touch them with the Rasengan ball, and he does defeat him. And of course, Kakashi's, and of course you defeat them and think that, and of course they're laughing, and of course they check on Kakashi because he overuses Rasengan. His Sharingan eye. He says, nothing but 2 weeks worth. The rest basically wouldn't help. And Chicago's like, vacation! Yeah, and they decided to stay 2 weeks there. And this is actually the first time you get a chance to see Sakura wearing a swimsuit in the entire series. This is the only time you get a chance to see it. And her bikini is pink. Yeah, she wears a pink bikini. And Naruto, typical Naruto, wears orange swim shorts. And of course, Rock Lee wears almost like a full one-piece swimsuit. And of course, the prince's son basically wears his swim shorts as well. And of course, it comes with snorkeling. You actually see this during the closing credits of the movie. And what does And what does Kakashi do? He's in the hospital the whole time while everybody's basically having fun. And it's quite nice of an ending to do. It's a little bit more of well, in the case of the previous movie when they ended it with the night after they beat the bag guy, just go off in the sunset with the kids. The first film was just Naruto being whatever. This one basically just the guys having fun. And eventually they leave. They take a cruise ship back to the Land of Fire, and the prince who's now become the king. And during the course of the montage, during the closing credits, he's basically going on a diet, and basically he's losing weight. And toward the end of the movie, it looks like he's actually lost a bit of weight in the course of 2 weeks. Which, okay, that's actually really smart of him to do. And he talks to his son. He says, "I'm going to try and visit your mother again." And the new young prince is like, "Yay!" And the film ends there. Overall, it's a really cool movie to watch. And of the 3 movies, I would say that this one, and the previous one are actually done really well. But in the terms of villain, of the 3 films, the first 2 had really good villains. This one did not have a really good main villain. He was kind of boring at best. Yeah, he was kind of boring, to say the least. But overall, it's a much better told story, and for one thing, all the characters actually get a chance to do something. Unlike in the previous 2 movies, where half the time the characters do jack squat aside from Naruto. This one, basically, everybody gets a chance to do something. Kakashi actually does some fighting in the movies, which he didn't do that much in the first 2. He does some, but not a lot of it. But, yeah. But overall, basically, like I said, of the first 3 movies, the third one is the best when it comes to have utilizing the characters a lot more better and have everybody do a lot of good fighting moves. But when it comes to terms of villains, the first 2 have really good villains. Opening sequences, the second and third one have much better opening sequences than the course of the first film. And of course, the films get much longer from this point forward. Now, in the case of Guardians of the Crescent Moon, this one is 95 minutes. This one's only 2 minutes shorter than the previous movie. So, okay, fine. So you have something where movie's a little bit shorter, but it's about the same length as the previous movie. But at least it's not 82 minutes. Okay? So, that's it for this part. Stay tuned for part 14, where I talk about the first 4 films of the Shippuden era of films for Naruto. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.